Hey there, Evolutionary. I'm Joe Heller, and I'm absolutely thrilled that you're here today because today we're going to go a little bit deeper down the rabbit hole and talk a little bit more about etheric meditation. So the cool thing about this particular video that I'm going to share with you is I was able to connect with a past life. And this past life allowed me to understand a little bit more about the simplicity of how I was taught these teachings, which I'm bringing forward now, from a past life. Now, that may sound kind of weird, but actually the word weird just means supernatural. So as we kind of explore this and I go down this rabbit hole, I was able to connect with this past life. Now, when I say connect with a past life, when you do it the right way, you're not actually just looking at or viewing a past life. You've created a bridge, and on this bridge there is an entanglement. Remember what I talked about in a previous video? I talked about gaining agreement. So you've got belief, knowing, and then agreement. But agreement actually, when it steps into the sacred, becomes a covenant. And this covenant is between you and yourself, which is an aspect of God. And so this covenant allows you, once you understand how to dial it in, which is attuning to this aspect of you, you're able to gain knowledge from future selves, past selves, and just a number of other things, teachers and things, and I'll talk more about that in a different video. But the important thing to know right now is that my past self was actually able to share with me some of the aspects of a very simple teaching into breaking into or stepping into the etheric realm without actually, as an apprentice would. So I know I've talked about some very hierarching, overarching things around etheric meditation, but this is going to be a very simple process. But before I do that, let me just remind you that infinity is, well, obviously infinite. And along infinity, you've got infinite points of that can actually break off into infinite infinities. Now, that may seem a little bit overwhelming for some of you, but the reason I bring that up is it means that as you attune or be able to dial into certain things, as you go through this process, you're able to step into this attuning process and capture whatever knowledge, whatever wisdom that you really want and need. Now, there's a caveat to that because you're not going to get the wisdom until the guardian, the gatekeeper, and that could be your future self, your past self, it could be a teacher, it could be an extraterrestrial, it could be a god, it could be a number of different things that will keep that door closed, that portal closed, until you are ready to receive the information. So even, and I want to bring that up because even as I share this information, some of you may not have access to the key in which to truly open the portal. But those of you that do, this is going to be very trippy. I mean, you thought LSD was trippy. This was actually really even better than LSD. And I can speak from experience. So here we go. So when we talk about accessing the portal of focusing and stepping into the etheric realm, we want to make sure that we're focusing on a target. So that target is here, and as we begin to visualize this target, we want to breathe and we want to focus on our breath as we are creating that intentionalized focus. And once we get to a certain point, our body will step into this symbiotic state with the object we're trying to connect with. And at this state, and at this point, I'm talking about the etheric realm. So as we talk about the etheric, I am stepping into the etheric from outside of the etheric. Now, as I step inside the etheric, I'm able to capture and focus and see what and how everything operates from within the etheric realm. Now, the cool part about this is that you're able to feel what's alive, what's going on with all your sensories. So you think your senses are only in the physical. Well, that's not really true because we have infinitely more sensories than we could ever imagine. As a matter of fact, I know that in the government's remote viewing program, when these remote viewers, these military officers step out of their body and they go and remote view, a target, meaning that they're spying, they actually have identified 72 different senses. Which is amazing to me because we kind of are in a box that we think there's, what, 5, 6, 7, depending on how attuned you are to the environment. And I've talked about different sensories like intuition and things like that as well. But they've actually identified 72 in the remote viewing program. So the 72 are beyond this realm of existence, so you begin to see things and feel things in a different way when you're beyond the physical state in the body. So as we step from the physical into the etheric, which is our target, we now have arrived in the etheric, which is really cool. Now, part of, and then the next step, as you step into the etheric, you want to become one with the etheric. Now, the etheric is a realm. It is something that is really kind of beyond most people's comprehension. But as you begin to step into the etheric, you may see like some fringe stuff. So meaning some like, it seems kind of like a fog. But you just kind of feel your way through the fog because one of the things I want to really emphasize is that fog or whatever you see or don't see is a veil. And that veil is something that you create. It is something that has been entrained inside of you as a human being because we have been programmed to be limited. And I want to definitely make sure you understand that you are limitless. You are beyond the scope of anything you could ever imagine as a soul. So what I am trying to do is ignite the knowledge of the soul to bring it forth so that you have the ability to see beyond and know that there are no veils. Because if there is a veil, I think I talked about this before, you can go beyond the veil and look back, but what's interesting about that is you begin to understand there are no veils because you are the veil. You are everything. You're an aspect of God, of the Creator, of Source. So there is nothing that is limiting you other than your ability to comprehend and think. Now, part of that is we've been trained to think with the left brain, not the right brain. The right brain gives us full access to the creative nature of who we are. Now, there is something unique about the left and right brain because we're mortals, we're human beings. And so what I've practiced is obviously a left brain train of thought is very straight, logical, linear in nature. And then of course, right brain train of thought is creative. So I actually purposely entangle my linear thinking with my creative thinking. So I wrap the linear thinking with the creative aspect of what it can become. So I've now created a full mind or whole mind aspect of stepping into different realms. So I'm using the full power, creative, logical power of who I am. But I have to start with the right mind because I'd never, ever, ever, when I'm stepping into a different realm, I never want to lead off with my left logical side because it will tell me that it's not going to work. So you've got to make that leap, and then you can certainly do certain things. And then, of course, you can play with your ego as well. Now, there's some things that I know about the ego that nobody else on the planet knows, like the ego is actually located in your reptilian brain, which means that it's set up for survival. And there's people out there, spiritual teachers, talk about killing your ego. You can't kill your ego. Actually, that's really the greatest test we have here as human beings on this planet, is we've got to befriend and become one with the ego, because the ego is our ancestral self. It is something that follows us around, and until we understand how to tame it, become one with it, partner with it. And by the way, your ego is like amazing. It can really help you out because it's been around this planet for all the different lifetimes that you've been here. And I can tell you that you're not getting off this planet, stay in Earth School, until you actually figure out a way to calm the ego and befriend the ego and become one with the ego. I know I'm sounding like very philosophical, but it's true. So getting back to this, so once you step into it, become one with it, now you're looking at it from the inside. Now, I shared this with some music students, maybe a year ago, and I actually taught them how to step inside of a music note. And they're like, whoa, what do you mean step inside of a music note? So I taught them how to step inside of a music note so that as they were composing these music, it gave them a perspective they had never seen before from the inside out of what it meant to be in that music note. And not only see, but when it hit, and I say hit, when it just basically touched the people that they were playing for. They brought out a whole new level of competence isn't the right word, but there was a higher knowing or intelligence or attunement to their particular music they were playing, which really rapidly changed. And it was amazing not only for the musicians, but if you looked at the faces of the audience, of the people who were actually listening to the music, it actually changed the construct of how they were interacting with the music, because now there was something they were putting inside the music. Now, some of the great musicians actually do this by accident, but this was a conscious exercise that I taught these musicians how to do, and it was really cool the way it worked out. So getting back to this, so you're on the inside, you've become one with it. So once you become one with it, now you want to release and expand. So now your consciousness is expanding out beyond all of this. You're actually, now, this is the physical, this is the etheric. You're actually able to look at this and then look beyond. So you're able to see in a way that you've never been able to see before. And this is really cool, because once you begin activating these senses, things within your physical body start activating as well. Now, one of the things, and this may be a little weird, because weird is good with me, but I know that when I first started doing this, I started having this sensation of this animal in my head. It was like, I know it's crazy, huh? But it was a badger, and so a badger is my spirit animal, and I could actually feel the badger moving through and just kind of using its razor sharp claws to kind of claw through my forehead. And what's interesting about this, and I'll share this with you, you might be able to see a little dot right here where my third eye is. So the third eye, that little dot, that little freckle right there, or whatever it is that is right where my third eye, was not there just a few years ago. It only showed up when I truly activated the third eye, and the badger, my spirit animal, came through and released it, and opened it up in such a way that it was fascinating to go through the process as well, because I could actually feel the claws of the badger and I could see it in my mind's eye. I'm like, what is this thing? What is this badger doing? And so, but now I understand that the badger was sent as a spirit animal, and maybe it was sent to, and I'm saying open my third eye, which it was, but also to decalcify, to do certain things that maybe I wasn't even aware of at the time, because I wasn't really as attuned to that whole process as I am now. Now, the other interesting thing is, as you begin to activate these key energy points, these key energy centers in your body, and I'm not one to edit videos and kind of put a snapshot in, so I just kind of want to show you this real quickly, because this happened when I was with some friends, and they were doing something with me called a cellular release. As they were working with me, my body, believe it or not, started growing pink. And so here's a shot of me glowing pink, which is a little weird. And there were about 5 people in the room. So I was not the only witness. I mean, obviously I kind of saw it or felt it, but they actually saw it. And that's why they took a picture. And if you noticed, this is a screenshot. So there's no filters involved, folks. This is just kind of a screenshot that my friend did on our iPhone. And it just kind of shows, and I wanted to demonstrate that, because once you begin activating these things in your body, and you begin to expand your ability to see beyond, you begin activating your energy centers. And your energy centers are what I like to see are called as keys, so like music. And so as you begin to play and unlock these energy centers, certain things are going to happen. And I've had the trippiest meditations that I could ever share with you. I've seen things that are amazing. Anyway, so getting back to this. So now, as we focus on breaking down these limiting barriers that we're all programmed with, I want to make sure that everyone understands that you can get through these limiting barriers. You can step through these limiting barriers. So as you do this and go through this very simple 3-step process, you want to release, and then you want to expand. And once you expand, you begin expanding within this other realm. So it's a full peripheral vision of who you are, and ability to see in a realm that typically you're not able to see or access. So it's really cool. So please leave me questions, thoughts. Again, I'm just trying to get this YouTube channel up and running. Maybe you want to leave me questions like, Joe, this is like way too intense. You need to do baby steps. Or you need to like go, Joe, amp it up. Let's make this stuff happen. So whatever it is, please hit that like button. I love you guys. And thanks for hanging out with me and staying tuned with me on this Sunday afternoon. So, much love. Talk to you soon. Hey, bye-bye.